have to foresee all those things before you enter into the job, because sometimes you might find some dichotomy in my discussion, because I have been talking about the roles, the responsibilities, the work styles, the work environment of the system. Uh, Despite the fact that as of now you are only a candidate, but because when you are trying to get into the system and you know that job market is very very tough, very very competitive, then when you will be interviewed, when you will be screened, when you will be asked to explain yourself in or in any manner that you are required to present yourself, you have to be very well aware of the roles and responsibilities of the job for which you are looking. So it is a little tricky consideration and understanding that even though you have not become something, yet you are supposed to know what are the challenges of that particular assignment and so forth. So that is why my discussion sometimes might be appearing a little confusing, because I am putting too much of stress that, oh, you have to write a letter, you have to write email, you have to communicate with your seniors, you have to communicate with the interministerial bodies, with the product engineers, with the sales people, with the market people, and any number of other corners are there where you have to knock at through your correspondence. So, but because you will be you those are the assignments attached to the job you are looking for, you are supposed to having all those traits. So therefore are you are advised that you be well aware of all those challenges. I hope I am making my point clear why I am discussing it. Is that right, dear learners? Would you agree with it?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, welcome. So that is one point I wanted to clarify, because sometimes it might seem why I'm discussing, we are discussing something which you are not at present, but because it you become so, and then you have to do all those jobs. So one must be knowing before one get is one has landed into that job. So just to take a brief recapitulatory session, we were discussing yesterday the uh, two units we discussed yesterday. Those were related to the exploring the job market, and uh, before that we discussed two more units of the block one, which is exploring the job market. So the block one is about the job market and how to know about advertisements, and how one should respond to the advertisements, and how one should write the applications, etc. Now block 2 is preparing for job interviews, and block 3, as I mentioned already, skills for workplace 1, and then there are another block that is for higher skills which are required for the workplace. So we will now move on to block 2, and block 2 is preparing for interviews. If you remember that yesterday we discussed about the how you should respond to the jobs, how you should respond to the advertisements, sorry, rather. So once you know how to respond to the advertisements, then what is left with you to do? You are supposed to prepare a CV, and then you have to you know rather you have to prepare your CV and prepare your profile. Make yourself you know emphatic, that you make yourself heard, you make yourself listened to. So how does that happen? That only can happen when you are well prepared. So one very important technique that was suggested in this particular unit was that you prepare FAQs about your job for which you are vying or trying. So if you can do that, And also, very importantly, if you can define the career, I mean, say, for example, you have to be ready to answer such questions that why, if you are working in one organization, why do you intend to leave that organization? Now, if you don't have an answer for that, it becomes little unsavory situation. So you must be very, very clear that what should be spoken at what point of time, and likewise. So we will come to the block two, and block two is preparing for job interviews. So now this block is primarily, to equip you with the necessary skills, and those skills which are actually required for you to attend the interview and appear in the interview, and then see how better you can perform, and what are the present requirements for that, you must find out. So if you can find out the requirements that are required for your job for which you have applied, then you can prepare much better for the interviews. So this particular block, which is preparing for the job interviews, has 4 units, same as the block one. So this block also is having 4 units. The very first unit, which is unit 5 of the course, is that is using body language effectively. You see, this is, it is very unconventional title of the unit, using body language effectively. Did you ever imagine because yesterday also we discussed how you should respond to interview, you must know how to respond. So we discovered yesterday, and a study was presented which said that more than 80% of jobs, particularly in the business scenario, that is in the trade, commerce, and industry, more than 80% jobs are secured by those who are assertive. But I also told you that assertive doesn't mean arrogant, it doesn't mean very loud, it doesn't mean aggressive. And we found out that if you are passive, the job scope for you is less than 20%. So see what is required. You can become you can become assertive only when you have your knowledge base strengthened. So how to do that strengthening? You have to do a lot of reading about the industry, about the prospectus aspired by a person in his or her career, as well as the different jobs that you are looking for. If you can do that, if you are able to communicate, but that communication skill will come when you read, because uh, when you read, what happens? One very important question is there: why you should read? You see, that is good that you get lot of information. If you read about industry, if you read about legendary persons, if you read about sports person, you know about sports, you know about industry, you know about IT. Yes, I agree. But something that which is most important, that is a different thing. That happens uh, with the reading. So if reading is done, then the most important happening that takes place is that you get a lot of vocabulary. Well, I will take a minute. There is electricity breakdown, so give me just a minute. Okay, I am back again, and I have managed my resources, so at least I can, continue with my presentation. So, I told you yesterday that most of the jobs which are there in the industry, in the trade and commerce, in the business circle, it more than 80% or almost 80% jobs are secured by those people who are assertive. But at the same time, I cautioned you that assertion doesn't mean aggression. Assertion doesn't mean violent behavior. It doesn't mean over loud speaking. Assertion means that you can keep yourself as a contending candidate, and you can put your views forward. But then we discussed how to be courteous, yet, putting your views very emphatically. So there are several techniques. I discussed yesterday that when you enter into the interview board or hall or room, what should be done? Because we discussed yesterday one point, which was language focus. So that was very important point. Language focus. What is language focus? That you focus on your language. What it mean by focusing? That means you use an appropriate language at an appropriate occasion. So if you are, no, say for example, you are entering into the examination interview hall, and you just knock, and then you seek permission, sir, may I come in? Then maybe the board members are not ready to receive you, and they are engaged in some other discussion or something like it. Then they will say, no, no, wait a minute, please. It is very important that you understand them and do not stress or do not, unnecessarily try to be pushy, and that you shouldn't just continue moving inside the room. You should immediately, hold back yourself and say, oh, yes, sir, sure, sir, sure, sir. So these are the points. That is why it is said that language is very, very important. It plays a lot of important role. Secondly, one important technique that language focus teaches or it explains, that is how to uh, counter the views, but with a great degree of respect and assertion. So I told you that there are certain set of words. However, sure, sir, but, but, yet, however, though. You can always play with these words. You can say, though your viewpoints are perfectly acceptable, sir, but I have to still say. Or if the discussion is continuing and you are not being given any chance to explain yourself, then perhaps you can say, may I just add something to it. So if you try to add something to it, it means you are assertive. Uh, it means you know the discussion point of discussion, and you can add something to the discussion concretely. So this is very important. So now we come to the unit 5 of block 2, which is the unit 1. I mean, first unit of block 2. The unit is using the body language. Yesterday we discussed the language focus in the unit 4. Today we are discussing the very important aspect of preparing for interview, that is using the body language. I do not know whether you are aware what do we mean by body language. So one thing I would like to explain to you very categorically, why we are putting a lot of stress on the reading, you know and particularly if you look at your study material, it has given a great degree of emphasis on reading. I mean, reading comprehension. That means you read and then you understand it, and then you answer, not only for assignment. This is a small, there will be questions in assignment questionnaire, and you will have to study some comprehension they are given, and reply those questions. That is very simple exercise, very small purpose. The larger purpose of reading comprehension is to prepare you for the particular job. Because if you read about, as I said, electronics, you know what you know about the electronics, you know their usages, you know their production thing, you know their cost and everything. But the very important thing that you gain out of that is that you create a vocabulary. A lot of vocabulary comes to you through reading. Now, how to use that? So if we discuss that how do you prepare for the interview? So the very first thing, because preparing for the interview means putting yourself, presenting yourself. Preparing means if you prepare for the interview, that means you are presenting yourself in the interview. So what should be the first point in the presentation or preparing for the interview? That is using body language effectively. Do you agree that the body also has its own language? It also speaks volumes. It has lot of meanings, and it conveys a lot more than what we feel, what we think that it can. We always feel if I do not speak, I am not heard of, I am not being listened to, I am not being understood. But let me just tell you that only less than 20% understanding comes through your words. Rest is conveyed through your gestures, your postures, your eye contacts, your attention to the discussion, and so forth. So we call it the non-verbal language or non-verbal communication. There is a verbal communication, but there is a non-verbal communication also. So this non-verbal communication is the body language, or the using the body language. You might have seen that there are very successful businessmen. There are very young, very dashing executives. How do they behave? How do they present themselves? And much less is conveyed by the words, well, what majority is conveyed by their gestures. How do they present? How do they, greet? How do they cheer? They use words, but at the same time, they use their body. They kind of small bending, folded hands, very charming face, very smiling face, and they use all sorts of tones, to greet somebody, to make their presentation, and at the same time they convey a lot of that which is to be transacted in the meeting. So this is very important. So primarily we can say that this is non-verbal verbal communication, because if we speak through the mouth, so if the words are orated, that is of course verbal communication, but we do speak a lot without speaking in terms of words. So that is one. So the in this unit we will discuss this, and we will also discuss about the how to recognize the body language. This is very important. It is important in terms that tomorrow you might also be part of the board interview. Then how do you reckon the body language of the person who has come to meet you? If somebody straight away comes cheerfully, very warmly, seek your greetings, or he shakes hand, or he greets you through any other conventional mode that is in vogue in that particular workplace or in the society. That is the difference. So we must give due importance to the body language. We cannot ignore it. If somebody is frowning, we know that yes, he is not happy. If somebody's eyebrows are straightened, then we know that yes, he is little angry. If there is a dimple on the cheeks, then we know that yes, he is smiling. He is trying to smile. And if the eyes are red or eyes are not having the right contact with the person who is presenting or who is asking you questions, that means you are shirking, you are not ready to, or you are not very confident about the topic of discussion that is going on. You see, so if we understand, if we reckon the importance of the body language, then we must give due importance to our own body language. That means how we should go. But I do not know whether you are aware. Sometimes we go and because usually if you are called for interview, then you are on the other side of the table. Uh, so when you take chair, some people start leaning on the table. Some people keep their arms or rest their arms on the table. And some people, if that is not there, then they may just tilt back and very uh, in a very resting mood, in a very resting posture, they will just hang on the chair. But that is not required from an executive who is going to appear for the interview or who is appearing for the interview. One must be very straight, upward straight, and should take a very straight position on the chair. And one shouldn't lean onto the table on which on the other side there are people, there are board members who are sitting, and one must also not lean back. You know, of course you can sit properly, comfortably, and you can move a little back on the seat of the chair, and then just have a small support of the back of the chair, but do not lean back. One shouldn't be seemingly leaning back. So I'm just giving these situations that what happens. Sometimes you might have seen that these days the very informal interviews are held, and if the board members are sitting informally on the sofa on the sidelines, then they might invite the candidate also to sit on one corner. But that one should understand that that doesn't mean that you have grown to their stature. So the candidate must keep his position in mind and shouldn't exceed or overstep his or her position. Sorry. The next point is that to face an interview panel confidently. Now, how do you face the panel confidently? I am always saying, or I have been saying in our discussion very repeatedly, that confidence will come only when you know about the things, when you learn from the things, when you are well equipped. That is information. But information in what form? That is the question. Information is there, but if you do not know how to present it, then that information is not worthwhile. Even though you know little bit, but if you know how to present it, you say हिंदी में इसके लिए एक शब्द है, आप घुमा सकते हैं. So you can put things in right track, by knowing the jugglery of words presentation. So it is very important that you know the subject, you know the topic of the discussion, or for that matter, say that the job for which you have been called and you are appearing, so you should know about it. But one very important thing for which I would like to assert again, that your information will be well presented if you use technical terms, if you use the proper vocabulary regarding the point of discussion. Say, for example, you are going for banking interview. So obviously, you will be asked to explain certain procedures, certain financial rules, and so forth. But suddenly there is a question, and you are asked that, okay, there is a customer who is going to an emergency uh, very immediately, and he doesn't have his passbook with him, he doesn't have a checkbook, he doesn't have any other thing with him, but you know that he is the person who I mean, is a bona fide person. What should be the resolution? There is a point, if you are really satisfied that the person has a credentials, you see, uh, one has to come forward, one has to show help. You can say yes, uh, we can help you out. So if this kind of question comes to you, then you should be able to answer it properly. But then you should know that there are legal implications and there are technical implications. So those technical and legal implications can be well explained only if you know right kind of terminology, right kind of vocabulary. So how vocabulary comes? I have already told you. Vocabulary comes from reading, and by reading and reading. If you are if you are reading a lot, particularly about your topic, about your area of your interview, and the peripheral subjects, then there will be a lot of vocabulary with you, and you can face the interview panel confidently, more assertively. Another point which has been discussed in this unit 5, is very important. This is the prepare and deliver a speech impressively. Now, the problem is that what happens, I mean, why this is required? Actually, I have a different approach to the topic. I do not begin with the information that is, yes, how to give impressive speech. That is fine. We all anyway can learn. But why impressive speech is required? There are two questions. I think in very first unit there is a section which talks about why and how. So if you can answer, if you can, uh, if you can, turn around and create a lot of why and how questions from your information, probably that will give you a lot of boost. It will make you more confident, because if you are, say for example, we say that there was a huge slump in the business during the coronavirus period. This is one statement. So, but you see, your board member can ask, no, that is true. Everybody has seen it. But how it happened? Why it happened? Why it happened? And later on, how it happened? So you must be ready to answer why it happened. Then you have to search for the answers. So how to or where to search for the answers, from where you should get information so that you are able to answer this question. That means you have to read about corona, its eruption, and then it's becoming a pandemic, and then how means it destroyed the business. How it destroyed the businesses? It didn't attack them, but what it did, it affected large number of professionals. Many professionals lost their lives. People were not allowed to come and attend business activities, and there was financial crunch. So this is how and why, that you have to answer the question very beginning, why and how. So it is said that WH is a pair which plays a great role in the business related activities, how this happened and why this happened. So I have been emphasizing. So let us now discuss, because we are discussing that how to use the body language. So how to use the body language in the interview. So effectively. So I told you yesterday that if you are not looking very straightly to the board members, that means you are shirking. So means you are not confident. Means you do not know about the subject or the topic of discussion. So you are, but if you know, then you can very confidently see straight into the eyes of the member or the person who is asking question. Sometimes what happened. Uh, 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 we sit very uh, you know while we sit, then there our legs are apart, so that is again a problem. So you see, that means you are more relaxed and less stressed. So to some extent this impression is good, but if it's a formal interview, then you should sit, your legs should not be apart. They should be touching each other and sitting straight on the chair. Sometimes what happened, that when you enter into boardroom, then you take a very brisk walk, very what we say, the erect walk. You are very erected, and you are not very normal. So one should be very normal, because that will convey a lot that yes, you are confident about your subject. So, but if you are properly straightened and move very naturally, then that shows that you are confident. So and then if you are standing and you are not sitting, anticipating that you will be invited to sit, that sounds fine, that yes, you are ready to take the interview. So sometimes if the arms are crossed on the chest, that is a problem. Sometimes we this is a usual sitting like this, but sitting like this is not appreciated in the interview board. So this shows that you are kind of you are not assertive, but you are kind of defensive. So something you are in defense. So this is a problem. So sometimes what we do in the interview hall, we enter while our hands are in the pockets. You see, or our shoulders are hunched. They are not straightened. So this is a kind of situation which indicates that you are dejected. So one shouldn't be doing it. So sometimes if we enter into the hall and we are just rubbing our nose, we are just touching our nose or touching our tip of ears and something. That is again unappreciable gesture. And of course, rubbing the eyes also conveys that you are in doubt. So these are very small things. Besides, there are a lot of other things. Looking here and there, uh, not looking straight into the interview board, and moving the eyes very rapidly to this side or that side, or simply bending and straightening your neck. So all these are gestures, all these are uh, uh, you know uh, things that happens in the during the interview, and all these indications, all these body language postures conveys something very important. If you are very positive, if you are very straightened, if you are cheerful, if you are smiling, that sounds that you are confident and know the subject and are ready to take the interview. So that should be kept in mind. So this is very important, that sometimes during the interview some candidates really get stressed, and instead of presenting themselves, they fumble in each and every sentence. They're not able to they are incoherent, so they are not able to answer the questions properly, and to the extent that some candidates even faint out, and sometimes there's a lot of perspiration on their forehead, like this. But if you are confident, okay, you go and sit and take the interview as a normal activity, and answer the questions up to the best of your ability, and find yourself as one of the members in that discussion. If you can do that, if you can involve yourself into the discussion, you see you have better chances, even though you might not be as competent as the members of the boards are, or you may be not that much well informed. That is true, because you are only beginner, you are only the candidate. So this has to be kept in mind. So there are few things about the now you see, say for example, you are how you should uh, get to know about these things. You have to read. You have to read something. What is the language of the interview? What is the language during an interview? What are the importance of the body language? You should read. So if you read, then you come to know about the appropriate technology, terminology. So this terminology is the only base which makes you confident. So in order to become confident, one must read. It gives you information. It gives you technical information. Or more importantly, it gives you right kind of terminology, right kind of vocabulary. Sometimes we know what we do. We start tickling the table with our fingers. Just it is very normal that it can happen, but because you should orient yourself in a way that nothing which is not part of the interview process takes place or happens. So these are some important points about the body language. So body language actually conveys most and much less is conveyed through your words. Nobody listen to words that carefully. Of course, while facts and figures are presented, those are only presented through the words. That is true. But then your confidence, your mental stability, your psychological aptitude to certain situations is only judged or adjusted by way of your body language. So it gives you a lot of vocabulary also. If you read about the stress, if you read about the interview techniques, if you read about the body language, if you read how to behave through your body during the interview, so you will have a lot of vocabulary with you. So I told you already that there's a one thing. If you read about the how to behave in the interview panel, then you will have a lot of vocabulary. Then you should use that vocabulary. For what you should use that vocabulary? You should try to formulate sentences. You should try to write something on the basis of the interview. Say, for example, if you read about the techniques of interview and uses of body language and the importance of body language, you can, because you have the vocabulary, you have the terminology with you, then you can write about write about a person who is interviewed for the post of sales executive, for the post of floor manager in production house. So, assistant manager in the banking sector will be adjudged or will be evaluated on different type of presentation. So, but you can use the same vocabulary at both the places. Like interview. If you read about interview techniques, you can say, sir, not many things happens in advertently, but those are part of one's nature, so they may not be taken very seriously. So that can happen. Uh, but if you know the terms, that the terms make your presentation very, very effective and you are taken very seriously, because stating the information through technical terms or through a right amount of vocabulary shows that you are having command over the topic. That is one. Sometimes it is very important that we listen to the comprehension. That means we listen to the talks, we listen to radio discussions, or we listen to speeches that are delivered by the great successful people. Yesterday we discussed, and somebody asked us, "Sir, what type of interviews we should listen to?" So I try to find out a couple of yes. Somebody said something. Hello. Somebody is saying something. Okay. Yesterday somebody asked.
Sir, I have a question.
Yeah, yeah. Please come.
Sir, in an interview, if the interviewer asks any question which we don't know about, what should we do in this situation?
Very well asked. You see, uh, in interview, any type of questions can be asked. You are not always there to answer each and every question. Maybe 10 questions are asked. Very naturally, you may not be knowing all the tens. Maybe you are good at 6, 7. So, very humbly, you can say, sir, though I read most of the available information on this topic, but I'm very sorry that I haven't heard of this. I will seek your apologies, and very humbly you can say this. This is not something because look, the interviewers are maybe professional of that particular area. You are not a professional as yet, so
Yes, sir.
you are not supposed to give, because it is better to plainly say, sir, excuse me, but I'm sorry that I do not or I haven't read about this, instead of giving wrong answer and misleading answer and whirling around, beating about the bush, is always undesired, right?
Yes, sir.
So straight away say it is not. It is well appreciated. I mean, all of us have faced a lot of interviews, and many a times the question came, and I simply said, "Sir, even though I tried to read about the subject, but this particular information is not with me. I am sorry." So
Thank you,
no,
sir.
nothing wrong with it. Instead of giving misleading information, wrong information, beating about the bush, because you are immediately caught with that. So yeah. So yes, somebody asked yesterday that what kind of interviews we should read. Searched and then I read some interviews, very useful interview. They are in video, audio form also. Just Outlook has you know presented a series of interviews with successful people. So the title is 10 Successful Entrepreneurs. So if you log in outlook.com and write the 10 successful entrepreneurs, you will find the interviews of the very successful people, Indian people. Similarly, there is a bandveda.in, bandveda.in. It has a set of 20 interviews of successful entrepreneurs, and the interviews are specifically focused at how the aspiring youth should prepare for the jobs. So you can log into outlook.com and brandveda.in, brandveda.in. So this was just a small addition to our discussion. So as I mentioned to you that how you can learn more techniques. The best way to learn about usage of the body language is the television interview. Has anybody? I think there are a lot of interviews. Even the coffee with Karan is not bad. Sometimes very good people come, and then you see how do they behave in a kind of situation. So, similarly, there are personality interviews, and there are a lot of interviews which are interviews with very successful people on Doordarshan, the national channel. It has interviews with the people from our country as well as people from the entire globe, those who are very successful. So see how they are dressed, how they sit, how do they, take time to answer the questions. They do not jump. So, you know, you should hear and see interviews. So if you could do that, I think you might not find, I mean, you might not see a lot many interviews where an environment is there for the beginners. But even the very acclaimed professionals, when they come for a formal interview, sometimes there are informal interviews, like if it is a chat show, then it is a different environment. But even then, you might see how cheerfully people present themselves. There are very odd questions asked, and how do they fiddle with that question? How they, take that around and answer and speak what they want to say only. They do not get swayed with the bombardment of the questions that are made by the interviewer. This is very important. Even when you go for interview, there might be five people in the interview board, and all the five might start, asking questions. Oh yes, one, two, three, four, five. You need not to get bothered about that. You patiently listen to, and then, okay, sir, first I will answer this question, then, sir, I will take the other question. You can very clearly say, okay, sir, but first let me, sir, allow me to complete. So you can use the word allow me to complete. But even then, somebody say, okay, okay, that is enough. Then you can say, okay, sir, then I will switch over to, or I will go to the next point. And then blah, 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 you speak about the next point and then go to next point. Actually, you see, it is a technique to put you in a situation whether you can handle the pressures or not. So if you can handle the pressure, then very important. An interesting point is there with regard to use of language. Uh, you have the best technique with you. Always put your assertions with the conditional clause. What is conditional clause? Sir, yes, it is fine, sir. But if we do that, this might not work. If we do that, if this happens, if this does not happen, if this was there, so you can always, move from the virile pool of the questions that are those are confusing. So if you can put your statement like, well, sir, very fine. What you said is very right and correct. But if this kind of decision is taken, I am afraid the business will suffer. Or you can say, if this does not happen, then this will happen. So this if conditional clause is very very important in the business talk, in the business interview. So you can always take a shelter. You know, you can say, sir, I will be very successful, or I would have been very successful had this been not there. That is one way of speaking. But speaking plainly, if this would not have been the case, I would have reached in time there. If there wouldn't be a traffic jam, I would have been here at the right time. Like that. So you can always use, I mean, this is one grammatical clue to make yourself more comfortable, yet, counter the views, and counter the views very diligently, very dignified manner, and like that. So, because what we are discussing is that that our only effort should be that we should not offend the members of the board, but it is our duty, it is our job to put our views emphatically, in an assertive manner, and in a very informed manner. So how can you do that? You can be well prepared on the basis of reading, on the basis of vocabulary, on the basis of technical inputs that you can gather for your interview, for your topic of discussion. So, because you are already we have discussed that you should find out what will be the nature of the interview. If it is an online interview, you must know how it is to attend the online interview. If it is an interview on the say, for example, using the information technology, that means using computer hardware and other equipments, then you have to be prepared for that. So it is basically there are two types of preparation. One preparation is that you read about the topic and equip yourself with the information. But all this will become worthwhile or useful only if you are able to present it. So, in presentation, your body language is very important. So, gestures and postures of your body gives you great advantage in the interview. We will go to the next unit now, which is unit number 6. And unit number 6 is not is now next part of it. So using your body. So that was one, or knowing the advantages of the body language that we discussed. So if you do that, of course, you can take benefit from it. Uh, Unit 6 is about portfolio making. Have you prepared your portfolio? Did some of you prepare your portfolio?
No,
No, sir.
Nobody has prepared.
No, sir.
So, have you heard about your CV? Do you know about what is CV?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
sir. We know
It's a
about CVs.
biodata.
All of you must have prepared a small CV of yourself.
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, so what goes into making a CV?
Your personal information, your professional details, if you have experience, your
Okay,
hobby,
okay,
your education details, and so on.
fine, fine. So portfolio is basically a reflective part of your CV. You know, portfolio actually includes a lot of visuals also. Uh, have you heard that in the media industry, media means in television, serials, and the shows industry, if somebody wants to get noticed, then particularly the young people, boys and girls, they spend a lot of money on preparation of their portfolios. Are you aware of it?
The people who want to take any job make portfolios in order to enhance their skills and all other things.
Yeah, in order to get them noticed effectively. Okay, okay, no problem, no problem. Actually, these days you see, it has become it has become a fashion, and secondly, it has become a prerequisite, particularly in the media industry. So if you want to jump into and work in the media, particularly serials, the other forms of the television industry, you have to prepare a portfolio, because it is very important that before a decision is taken, that whether or not you are suitable for this particular job, we are talking about no information. We are talking about the background knowledge we discussed in the previous units. Why you must do reading, you should have proper vocabulary with you, and so forth. And we also discussed using the body language effectively. Now, actually, you see, if all these aspects are to be included as part of the preparation for interviews, then sometimes, before you are called for interview, the board members would like to know how the person presents oneself. So, in the portfolio is actually a kind of presentation of yourself. How do you look? How do you use your body language? How is your diction? Diction, pronunciation, the diction. Do you know the right kind of pronunciation? And whether you are suitable for a particular job, whether you have right kind of aptitude for that. So let me just tell you that it is a small kind of resume, having both audio and sounds and visuals. You might explain, okay, I am so and so, and then at the same time you are being somebody shooting all that, and then dubbing is made. That audio clip is also inserted with the visuals, and then a small resume, visual or production resume is prepared. So that is a portfolio. Sometimes only it is written portfolio. So what goes into written portfolio is that there are certain pictures of you or of anybody taken, and along with the pictures, the right kind of information. Say, for example, somebody say in his or her CV, I am 5 foot 6 inch tall. So it doesn't sound how do you look. You see, by writing, it doesn't really make it doesn't really give an impression that, oh yes, you are tall, your personality is pleasing, you are handsome, or you are serious, or you are having right kind of composure. So along with details, CV is only details. CV gives only the details, and a resume also gives only the details. But a portfolio will also add small snippets of your maybe photographs, maybe some photographs which are depicting you in some kind of activity. Suppose You say that in your CV you write, I am a great hiker, I am a mountaineer. Nobody knows how you will look at the mountains. So if you can put couple of snippets when you were on the mountaineering, that makes your CV much more impressive, much more emphatic. So do you get what I'm trying to say?
Sir, what is the difference
Yes, sir.
between CV, resume, and portfolio?
Actually, basically, there isn't much, but a resume largely is a concised format of information about you. Portfolio is also very concise, but portfolio will also have the visuals. So resume will may have your single photograph on the beginning page of the resume, but in portfolio, whatever activities, whatever your interests are, you can say, okay, I conducted 20 workshops. So it would be desired that at least one or two snippets of your workshop organizations are also attached. So that is basically portfolio. So portfolio is a small document which also depicts uh, those visuals which are claimed in your CV. So sometimes sometimes it is in the document style, just pictures are present, put on the paper. So those photographs are taken and printed on the paper. But sometimes there are portfolios are live portfolios. So there is a lot of shooting done for the portfolio. So then it is not written, but one narrates about oneself, and in between the visuals which are shot, those are inserted. So that is the portfolio. So resume is usually one page, and resume is basically the concise information as compared to CV. So it may have a small picture, but portfolios are those are document type also, as well as those are in reels also. So reels means there might be 20 minutes portfolio, 10 minutes portfolio, half an hour portfolio, and like this. All these big stars and all these people who are working in the multinationals, they all of them have their portfolios. So that is how they land in the bigger assignments. Uh, so, so your question is well answered here, that whether the portfolio is a name for resume. So perfect. It is true that a portfolio is not resume, because resume is a very precise, concise information, and it will not have a lot of visuals. It might have a small picture of yourself, but rest is only details, and those details are very pointed details. Those are not very descriptive details. So the portfolio will. I'm trying to say something which I think you might have noticed. Actually, portfolio is something that gives very tangible information. Means information which can be truly verified. Are you getting me? What I'm saying? Tangible evidence means how your information becomes tangible when you attach a proof. If you don't attach a proof, your information is just a narrative. Yes, somebody said something.
Sir, can you help us to make our LinkedIn portfolio much better?
Sorry.
Sir, can you help us to make our LinkedIn portfolio much better?
Yeah, why not? You ask questions. What doubt you have?
So what kind of information we should
Okay, okay,
write it on our LinkedIn profile?
okay. We will discuss it, right? Na? We are coming to that. Uh, Actually, देखिए, listen, the information that goes into whether it's portfolio or it is a resume or it is CV, primarily is your personal detail, your educational details, your professional details, your hobbies, your achievements, your working experience, your aspirations, and your view or vision of your life, as well as if you are working somewhere, vision for that organization. Fine, these are the broad points that should be covered in any CV, portfolio, as well as resume. Fine. Okay.
Sir, I worked as a hotel manager in past, but I don't have any proof. So what can I do?
You worked as portal manager.
Yes, sir.
Portal manager for what?
Like a restaurant manager,
Okay.
so that I can manage something. What should I do?
Okay. You worked as a restaurant manager.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what you should do is, first of all, you see your name. Sometimes even the industry prefers your father's name, your place of birth, your date of birth, place of birth, and then your academic qualification, and then your professional. There are two types of qualification: academic qualifications and the professional qualifications. Because professional qualifications will determine your area of employment, and then you write about your experience, uh, and if there is any noticeable achievement during your experience, say for example, if you were you were the restaurant manager, so you can say we served the Commonwealth delegation. We served the Commonwealth delegation. So that will be a
Yes,
special
sir.
of your experience. And then you say, because you are working in the service sector, because restaurant comes into the service sector, so you should give your vision, what you would like to see yourself in the service sector. And then you should also talk about certain hobbies, and maybe your aim in the life. So what I gather is that how to emphatically present that what are your achievements in your working, in your experience. So if you are talking about plain CV, then those things can be expressed through narratives, through a detailed description. If it is a resume, you can simply say 10 years of experience in as a restaurant manager, and 5 years as general manager, 5 years as chief manager, or like that. And you can say special achievements, attending to the Commonwealth delegation for over 1 week during their conference in New Delhi, like this. But if it is a portfolio, then the best thing is that you must keep such pictures with you. So those pictures can be made part of the document if it is a documentary portfolio. But if it is a real portfolio, then those should be short and merged with the narrations that you will be giving while your video is being shot. So you see, there we are talking about four different things. One is CV, one is the resume. So CV is always documentary, resume is also documentary, portfolio can be documentary. You are getting, but documentary I'm talking about only in a plain text. Uh, but in a portfolio can be both documentary as well as in the reels. So if it is a documented one, in that what you can do, you can take snippets and insert those at the places where you have claimed something. You say, awarded the president's medal for achievement. So then you should put that picture of that ceremony when you were being awarded the medal. So this is what goes into the making of portfolio. Now we will come to portfolio. We will discuss it in another unit also. So don't worry. We will have plenty of time. It's a question is already asked. Can one put pictures into portfolio? Yes, definitely. You see, it must have graphics. It must have colorful graphics so that your skills are properly presented. If I say, somebody say, I defeated the Russian heavyweight, for example, a sports person can claim in his portfolio, then it is not simply that he has written it, he is understood that he has beaten. Then there should be this ring ceremony where the fighting took place and then the declaration of somebody as winner. So that snippet must come into it. Actually, you see, portfolio is something that gives you a tangible information about your achievement, about your claims. So tangibility comes only when a proof is attached. Whereby in CV no proof is required, in resume no proof is required. It is just self declaration. So that is how portfolio are taken more seriously because there is a proof as to what your claims are. Fine. So that I'm coming to next point. You see why portfolios are important. What is why they are more useful than CV or the resume. Very first thing that they give a very focused, they give a very focused opinion about your self in the interviews. If your portfolio is with you and during the interview, because particularly in the service sector, look, dear learners, particularly if we talk about the service sectors, one would like to know how do you behave. You see how what is your aptitude, what is your presentation style. So the service sector demands that how do you look in a particular situation. So in order to prove that, I think it is better that you prepare your portfolio. There are a lot of professional portfolio makers these days. One thing that you can do it on your own level is for the portfolio is that you always keep proof of your informations. Because if I say I have bachelor's degree in chemical engineering, masters in physics, PhD in sugarcane industry, or like this, no problem because all this can be verified from the documents. But if I claim I am a great mountaineer, I can ride horse, I can take challenges, how that can be proved? You must have the pictures for that. Even if it is a documented portfolio, still there can be frozen pictures. But if it is in reels, then there has to be live pictures and live audio and live. It has to be shot and presented and put in the reel. Convince others of your skills, abilities, and I have been telling you already that because you can only convince others when you present tangible in proof of your achievements, of your skills. Say, for example, one can say, I am a very good swimmer. I know deep swimming. I know diving. How to prove that? Okay. If you are a professional diver, you might have some certificate. But if somebody is diving deep into the blue ocean and there is a picture for that, he need not to say anything. Maybe question is not asked. It's already evident from the picture. So it's part. Showcase and hence communicate your skills clearly. It showcase your talent and it automatically communicates. You need not to say something. And at the same time, you can say, I say, for example, these days there are a lot of pools activities. Pool activities. There are all these big resorts. They're having pools, and there are lifeguards around the pools. If somebody say, "Oh, I saved 10 people," so I should be taken for the higher post as a pool manager. How to prove that? Then if there is a picture whereby one is saving the life of a swimmer by diving deep into the swimming pool, then one need not to say. So that means your success stories are already in the pictures. Then create a person database, assess your own progress in the career development. Means if all this is evident from the live proof, you need not to say anything. It automatically sets you for a successful career, or your career development is already ensured. So there are a lot of things. What can you do? You can read articles, get information from the periodicals, read the business magazines. Business magazines are also very important. And then you see what a portfolio is. It has to be properly indexed. You know, in the beginning it should give a proper information about yourself. Like if it is a visual reels one, then you can say, in my portfolio, I have given details about this, and then thereafter you begin with all the presentation. But if it is a written one, then maybe one index page can be there. So maybe if you want to present yourself very clearly, very lucidly, very transparently, I would say that you must prepare your proper portfolio, and that will be quite useful. One thing, very importantly, about the vocabulary of the portfolio is that you see, you can't use a very descriptive vocabulary in your portfolio. There's a different style of narrations or narratives in the portfolio. You can say 10 years of swimming experience and then put a picture. You can say saved a lot of lives during my stint as a lifeguard, or like that, or uh, surfaced deep in the sea. So there is this kind of statements are there, and those are substantiated by the proper appropriate pictures. So one must have a proper vocabulary also. It is not a very descriptive one. It is very crispy, and they are pragmatic words. You see, pragmatic words means the words which are having lot of embedded information into them, and they can be used to present right kind of information. Somebody say, yeah, uh, the information has been carpeted. This is the word. Information has been carpeted. But we don't understand what is carpeted. You can say a lot of information. So here carpeted means it is put under the cover. It is put under the cover. Similarly, it is opposite to elaborated. So there's a word carpet, and when you want to say that information has been put, rather covered by something, then we say it is carpeted. There's another word for it. It is housed. So instead of housed, you can use the word carpeted. So it is the language has also to be very, very clear. As a pilot program, sometimes you might have heard uh, people using a pilot program has been launched. So pilot program means it is not the pilot of the aircraft who flies the aircraft, but it is a pilot program means this is the program which is the sample run of the program, sample run of the activity. So this is just a testing kind of activity for a bigger expedition or bigger program. So what I'm trying to say is that in portfolio, language also plays a very important role. So you should know the correct vocabulary, the pragmatic terms and conceptual words, as well as words which are precise and which are crisp. So only one care should be taken in the portfolio, that sometimes the prohibitive and obligatory terms are not used. So something like I may have achieved more had I been this given this opportunity, something like that. So instead of saying you shouldn't have done this, you can say uh, you could have done this had this not been there. So the models, indicating the suggestions, obligations, and prohibitions are not appreciated in the particularly in the CVs, because in CVs you can say if you are asked about why you have put this thing in the CVs, so you can say, sir, I may have avoided it, but I thought to put it for your information. So instead of I shouldn't have, so instead of shouldn't have, you could say I may have, like this. So it is better that you prepare your portfolio, because these days actually all the students who are working in these big B schools, what are B schools? Can somebody endorse what is B schools?
No, sir.
Okay, I thought you know about the B schools. B schools are business schools. And business schools means the schools which offer BBA and MBA and further higher degree programs in the business administration. So those are called B schools. So those are not called now colleges, universities anymore. Very important, like St. Xavier's B schools, like ICFI's B school. So the term school refers to big institutions, and B means the business schools. So if you read about the students, scholars, pupils in these schools, then most of them have their own portfolios, because after they pass out from these big B schools, they prepare their portfolios and then put them across the industry, business houses for the jobs. So I think it is better that, I mean, even the ordinary purpose, there are now profiles, or there are now portfolios which are being presented. So portfolio is basically self portrait or self profile. So it is good that you, I mean, if you work on this, and maybe you could also prepare a very good portfolio of yourself, and that will be quite helpful in seeking employment, no doubt. So you should also try to put your portfolio on, maybe if you want to be noticed and uh, get noticed for the interview or the opportunities that appear, then you must prepare your portfolios. If not the real portfolio, definitely you can prepare the documented portfolio. So I have already told you that the portfolios, even CVs, sometimes if even if it is a descriptive portfolio CV, avoid don't, shouldn't, like this. At the same time, you could use should, must, but must aren't. So suggestive, obligatory, and the prohibitory, they should be used as least as possible. So we will do the writing of the CV. CV is, what is the full form of CV?
Curriculum vitae.
Huh.
Curriculum vitae.
Curriculum vitae. So we will discuss it, but maybe what you can do is try to write a small portfolio and tell me, then maybe in one session we will discuss, then tell me, you write the text part, and then we can discuss what type of visuals should go into it, right? You just do one hour exercise, and then we can discuss what kind of visuals should go into it. So you see, CV is also very important, because portfolio, one thing I perhaps didn't tell you, portfolio is something which is presented in during the interview. You slide your file in shape of portfolio, but CV is usually attached with the application. You see, and the resume is something which is sometime required by the industry, but that is just to know about the very basic details about yourself, and eventually you will be asked to submit the detailed CV. So immediately, if some corporation, some organization, some industry is looking to recruit people, and they don't have much time, then they ask for the CV. So CV is cursory. I mean, this sorry, resume. Resume is just I think you understand the word resume. Resume is something which is shortened. So that is for the first-hand information about a person. CV is a detailed information about a person. And let me now come to a point that the portfolio is basically part of the interview, and sometimes CV is, resume is also part of the interview, but CV is definitely not part of interview. CV is pre-part of interview. When you submit an application, then you attach a CV. And sometimes along with application only resume is required, because the industry is not having much time. So in that case, it will just ask for the resume. But during the interview, also sometimes a resume is asked, but preferably portfolio will be appreciated. So, and CV is something, CV is something that that remains constantly in the process of updation, because as you add more qualification, as you add more work experience, your CV is constantly under the updation. And very importantly, that CV has sectorial information. What is sectorial information? In the beginning, it will have your personal information quite in detail. Then it will have your educational details. Then it will have your professional details. Though similar type of details are there in the portfolio, but in portfolio, it simply continues. It is not, the small headings are not given. But in CV, it is very personal details, education qualification, professional qualification, work experience, areas of interest, hobby, achievements, and mission and vision in life. So that is CV. When all these things are put in one simple page, that is the resume. And when all these things are put in brief but substantiated, evidenced by the live pictures, it is a portfolio. And it can be documentary portfolio. It can also be a reeled or in the visual form, complete complete program, complete reel for the portfolio. So it will also your CV will also have your contact details, of course. When you write about your personal details, then you also write about the email and your web page, as well as the phone numbers and mobile numbers, etc. very clearly. There is a question always that how long a CV should be. Sometimes some people have 20 pages long CV, some people have 10 pages, some people have 30 pages, some people have 80 pages. It depends upon the person, his area of interest, qualifications, work experience, and so it varies from person to person. So it is very difficult to put a uniformed embargo that how long it should be. So it can vary in the size according to the information. Couple of things which we often miss. I have already told you that it has personal details, it has your family details, it has your educational details, it has your professional education, it has work experience, hobbies, achievements, etc. But it must also, when you talk about the experience, then it should have your career history. Because you can say 10 years of working in the hospitality sector as assistant manager and 10 years as a senior manager and so forth and so forth. But then there is a term, prior to that, I also worked as in the airline industry as a catering manager or something like it. And when you talk about your professional qualifications and achieve, then you can also say that my strongest areas, like if somebody is applying for as a manager in the big international resort, then one can say, yes, I have special skills in escorting the tourists for the expeditions, and I have been trained in the mountaineering and so forth. So your skills and strengths should also be reflected, and awards and achievements, and also I have already told you that your email, your web page, your mobile number are part of there. Nobody stops you from writing anything into your CV. That is true, except that if you write about your date of birth, you write it wrong, then later on it will be caught, because when you join an organization, you will have to submit proof of your date of birth. If you write that I have 5 PhDs and you don't have more than one, then you will be caught. So you can't cheat in that. What you can cheat in, you can say I have this experience, that experience. The problem is that during the interview, if somebody is a professional in that particular area, then he might ask questions pertaining to that particular experience. So please, one care or caution is that be very honest. Don't underemphasize yourself, but don't just fly high with the overstatements. So those should be avoided. What is the key in the CV or the curriculum vitae? Curriculum vitae. What you have to do is when you write about your educational achievements, your writing style will automatically make it clear whether you are trained in that particular area or not. For example, if you talk about the business management, so if you are business graduate from some acclaimed university like big B schools, ICFI or Dhirubhai Ambani B school or St. Xavier, Jamshedpur, or something like it. You see, your language will be very, very fluent, and it will reflect. So if that is the case, then not only that you should use very fluent English, but you should also be able to exhibit and explain your interests, your skills, and of course achievement in education. What I'm trying to say is that be very, very honest. If you are graduate from normal university, then please do not go for the hi-fi English. So, in circular vitae, you must be very honest, because you will be you will get caught anyway. Not if not through your statement and writing style, during the interview it will be found out. So you profile yourself with properly drafted personal details and interests. And another thing that you must not forget to put in your CV is that if you have additional skills other than the one which are relating to your job assignment. For example, if you are working as an airport manager, definitely managing the airport is your required skill area. But if you can say, I love to cook very good meals, that is your additional skill. You can say, I have great interest in the game of football. I played for the league and so forth. So those are also appreciated. So these days, another skill which is expected from people who are working in industry particularly is the computer literacy. So please make evident that you explain your computer literacy. What if you know special tools, editing tools, or some other tools which are very helpful in managing the industry, please do mention them. So how you can make a good CV? I think it is better that if you read the CVs of these great people who have achieved something in life, just focus on the use of their language. How do they use language to explain them? Nobody says, I have been working so and so. Everybody will say, I have worked. Presently, I am doing this. So there isn't much emphasis on the past perfective. There's more emphasis on the present continuous, and present perfection, perfect. Simple sentences, not much on the progressive, because it leads to past, and then a sort of continuum comes from the past and nobody is interested in it. So you should use the language. So it is better that you revisit the structure of the tenses. So focus on the present. I am doing it. I have been doing it. Instead of I have been doing it, I am doing it. I am doing it. Or I intend to definitely move ahead, like this. So why don't you people try to write a small CV? So in CV, you create a small profile of yourself, personal details profile, educational, professional, additional skills, interest, references, achievements, etc. Sometimes even if your CV also require references, that means if it is to be considered as an authentic document, then you are supposed to put one or two references. Those are called referees. So you must know who could be your referees, because referees are very important. Your application, your request will be considered only if it is endorsed by the referees. I'm using certain terms very deliberately, because if we keep on using these terms and know what do they exactly mean, then perhaps in your writing you can also use them, because the vocabulary, the terminology is one such tool which makes your presentation more emphatic and pragmatic. That means it is meaningful. Dear learners, so I feel that I have been speaking for now almost quarter to 2 hours, and in case there is some query to be discussed right now, otherwise I'll wind it up. So if you want to discuss maybe 4 or 5 minutes, we can do that. You are welcome. This session is open. Yes. Would you like to discuss something? Are you getting my voice?
Yes, sir. Mm.
So we can wind it up. Otherwise, if there is no question or there is no point of discussion today, we can discuss tomorrow also. You can go through and maybe read it once again. Sir, a doubt. What is behavioral requirement? Behavioral requirement, the requirement, you see, each environment is different from the other. That means if you are working in a hospitality sector, means tourism sector, then your behavior has to be much more sophisticated, much more controlled and dignified. Reason being, supposedly you are mixing with foreigners. You are mixing with people who have come from an open society. They do not understand the complexities of the uh, of other societies. So they might behave openly, and sometimes we can misunderstand them. So one has to be very, very careful. Similarly, if it is a very closed society, and if we try to behave in an open manner, not that we do indecent activities, but even if even if the language use is not perfect to that norms of that society, it can be taken otherwise. So behavioral requirements are that we should know how to behave in different societies. How do we, the term is actually how do we conduct ourselves? Please note it down. How do we conduct ourselves in this social space? I'm using 2, 3 important words. Behavioral requirement is to know about how do we conduct in the social space. So every industry is a different social space. Every workplace is a different social space, and we have to know the nuances, the socio-cultural aspects of that personal of that workspace, and then we should behave accordingly. I hope I made this point clear. So thank you very much. I will take your leave. Yeah, please.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you,
welcome.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, we'll meet tomorrow at the
Thank you,
same
sir.
2:30, right? Okay. Good day.